Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you a very cool model that is a 3D print from Station Forge. I have been a huge supporter of Station Forge for about 9-10 months now, ever since they brought out some beautiful 3D sculpts of Rough Riders, except they were riding motorcycles in the fashion of the Death Corps of Krieg. Absolutely stunning miniatures, and as soon as I saw them, I signed up to their Patreon and I've been printing ever since. I have now had the opportunity to make them a video, and for that I have chosen this ridiculously cool Ork Warboss. So I hope you guys stick around and enjoy this video. And this is the armored brute that I decided to focus this video on. As you can see, it is a very unique sculpt for an orc. In my head, he saw a demon prince or a bloodthirster swooping around the battlefield at some point, absolutely thrashing his poor boys. And of course, in an orc's warlord's head, all he thought was, how do I look like that? How do I become that? So he bashed his mad docs around the head and asked them to make him that, and they came through. So in order to paint it, I sprayed it black and then gave it an overcoat of grey sear. I then moved on to the orc flesh contrast paint, and I applied that to all of the soft skin on this miniature. Now, although I am starting the first color being the green skin, this is mainly so I can figure out where all the mechanical parts of the orc are. It is a very highly detailed miniature, and there's bits of bionics protruding through skin, and most of him is mechanical at this stage in order to swell his mighty size to this. So I went around with the contrast, making sure that I found all the different parts of skin and then gave them a nice solid base coat. This orc was actually cut down to 50% his original size, so they wanted this thing to be absolutely massive, more bloodthirster size or Bellacore sized than the size that I have decided to print him at. It's one of my favorite things about 3D printing is that you get to choose to change scale to whatever you like and make it fit your story, your narrative, or your army with ease. Okay, with all of the green areas kind of locked in, that left all the remaining parts that I knew were going to be metallic on this guy. And for them, I'm going to use my rust technique as a starting point. So I'm going to paint all of the metallic parts on this miniature with a coat of Rhinox Hide. I've done my rust technique on a bunch of videos before, but I must always assume that the people watching this video haven't seen my previous videos, so I don't want to skip anything. Anyone who has seen this technique before, hopefully you'll know that it is quite an effective technique. I actually did it on a previous Ork Warboss video, a model that I will show you at the end of this video for comparison. So I very carefully paint around this miniature with Rhinox Hide, all the metallic bits. Once again, trying to find all of the bionics that are kind of sticking through the skin, make sure I didn't miss anything. I wasn't sure at some point whether or not that the kind of barbs at the end of the wings were metal or whether they were actually skin. In the end, I decided that these wings were actually constructed by the mad docs, and it's actually orc skin stretched over some armatures that they made. So with all of the metallic parts found and blocked in, it was time to move over to the first color for the rust. And what I went for that is, of course, Riser Rust, which is a dry paint by Games Workshop. And I used a stippling technique to basically attack all of the brown parts of this model with some orange. This gives a really nice starting point for rust. Like I said, it's a technique that I have been using for years. I find it to be super fast and super effective way of applying rust to any miniature. Although I have recently got my grubby hands on some of those new dirty down paints like the rust, I do intend to do some videos on those soon, so we'll see if that changed my mind on my rust technique. So as you can see, this is quite a haphazard technique. It is extremely fast to get it up to this point, a coat of brown and a coat of stippled orange. And you can already see or feel more so the rust look to the model. And where this model is going kind of becomes apparent here. After the orange is applied, I want to add the chipping to it. But before I do that, I want to apply the colors. So in my head, this guy is, of course, a member of the Speed Freaks, so they are red in color. So I'm going to add a small parts of red paint to specific panels across this miniature. For that, I'm going to use Mephiston Red. I want it to look like originally this thing might have been painted with more red paint, but as he's been swooping around and he's been getting into fights, he's been getting chipped and bashed and scratched and shot at. Most of the paint has worn off, or just the fact that he probably didn't use paint designed for the elements. He might have used a bit of, wall paint he found in some abandoned shed. But nevertheless, he was quite proud of his red color scheme. Denotes what clan he is from. And as you can see, I'm not trying to get full coat. It's almost like a feathering technique I'm getting just on the center of some of the kind of flatter panels of the miniature. And once this is applied, we can then move on to some of the other colors. Some more of the traditional colors of an orc. So there will be some black and some white thrown in. As you can see, it looks like a worn out old red paint scheme. A bit of pure white was used. I decided to use the bold titanium white from Pro Acryl. I used it on the kind of bracer bar for his Gatling gun, and then those circular discs along the wings. Another favorite part of miniature painting is this particular miniature was supposed to have like chains hanging down throughout his wings. I preferred the look of them without them, so I just decided to leave them off. Which is of course your prerogative, as is your miniature. I was very tempted to say when I was doing my Bellacore for videos, I preferred the wings to be kind of clean and on display. So I've added the white and I've added a bit of black. Now it's time for Lead Belcher, and this really does finish off that beautiful rust technique as we dry brush across all those metallic red, black and white parts. It will catch the kind of scraping paint look on all the edges and make this look like beaten down old armor. See how quickly the effect adds a really nice touch to these pieces. Don't need to be careful, you don't need to take your time or anything like that, you just need to get it on. Directionally dry brushing with the silver paint along the edge of the blade to give it that kind of sharp edged look. Same thing along all those mandibles on the wings. This thing was a brute of a model to hold while you were painting. But there is the kind of finished metallic and armor parts of the model. I love how this looks. I've always loved this technique. It always makes me want to go away and paint more orcs. Now it's time to do some work on the skin. So we're going to do a 2-stage highlight on the skin. We're going to go for Warpstone Glow as the first one, and then we're going to jump up to Moot Green for that kind of toxic green skin look. In the end, I'm not sure this was the skin tone that I really wanted to achieve for this orc, especially when I compared them to the Ork Warboss I painted previously and had them side by side. I kind of prefer the other scheme of skin, so I may go back and repaint the skin on this piece just to have it match in with that a little bit better. With this particular scheme I went for a more of the like cartoony look, which I did on my Goth Rocker, and I really enjoyed doing it there. So I kind of can never really make my mind up of what tone an orc skin should be. Everyone kind of has their own different techniques for painting and their own tones that they prefer. But nevertheless, Warpstone Glow, I started layering up all of the heavy musculature of the orc's body, leaving the shaded contrast paint in all the recesses. As you can see, constantly rotating the miniature around the paintbrush as opposed to trying to rotate the brush around the model. Gives you better brush control and make sure you get the paint in the correct areas. Station Forge is one of those 3D printed companies that, like I said, I have personally been supporting. I've been a member of their Patreon now for about 9-10 months. And they are the ones that I don't know how they keep up with their schedule. Every time I look at my phone, there seems to be an email from them with their next batch of miniatures. They release batches of miniatures multiple times a month, and they're always stellar. The designs are unique, and sometimes they're just kind of the opposite of unique, if that makes much sense. Like, I believe that Station Forge makes the closest alternative to the Death Scrolls of Krieg than anyone that I have ever seen, and I am 100% sure I will make more videos in the future showing some of those amazing miniatures off, especially things like casualties, or like I said in the intro, Krieg bikers, or there's just too many to choose from. But definitely check the links below, check out their Patreon and look at some of their absolutely stunning prints. This is me going onto the Moot Green. As you can see, it jumps straight up to a more cartoony kind of a toxic green color. It was a very easy color to apply to the orc's kind of body, and that's really where I am comfortable painting. It was the wings themselves which made me question whether or not they should have been green, or maybe I should have gone in with the wings being a slightly different color. Maybe that's what's throwing my eye off at the end of the video. But hey, you let me know in the comments below. Do you think I went for the wrong skin tone on this orc? Do you think I shouldn't have done the wings in green? In my head, the wings were two stories. Either the orc himself had torn the wings off of a demon or a tyrannid and decided to have them grafted on, which means I can do them in more bloodthirster or a tyrannid scheme. Or in the story that I went for was that they were literally made. As you can see, the outside mandible, the wings are entirely metallic. So in my head, the Mad Dogs made this frame and then literally skinned other orcs alive and stretched their skin across the canopy of his wings to create them. Let me know what you guys think when you see these, and which color scheme you think I should have gone for. Did I make the right decision, or should I perhaps repaint? Like I said, following through, taking my time with this Moot Green. I don't want to go overboard with it. I definitely want to leave some of that darker green in the shadows and undertone. And then I'm carefully layering up the wings. Quick and easy scheme. I think this guy will be featured in some of the battle reports on the channel as well. I think he is a very striking thing. I mean, if I saw a thumbnail for a battle report and this guy was one of the opponents staring back at me, I would definitely be curious to see where he came from, what his story is, and what he can do in a game. And with that, I painted quickly his teeth, tongue, I painted the bionics around his head and his eyelids, and I called the miniature done. He was based up in urban grey to match my other kind of orc schemes. Here is the comparison of the other Ork Warboss that I finished up, and as you can see, the guy I painted today is an absolute brute. And I hope you guys enjoyed him as much as I did. Okay, and there we have it. One beautiful 3D printed flying demonic warboss ready to swoop into the battlefield and make a huge impact in my battle reports. If you guys are interested in this sculpt or any of the other fantastic miniatures that Station Forge produce, I will leave links below to their Patreon where you can check out all of their fantastic bits and pieces. And they also have them for sale on all the other different 3D printing websites. I will leave links to all of those below so you'll be able to go there and pick them up for yourself. A huge thank you for Station Forge for sponsoring today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a like. Ask me any questions you like in the comments below, and I will get back to each and every one of you guys. And if you want to support my channel, 2 easy ways to do that. Make sure that subscribe button has been smashed. And if you want links to my Patreon, which gives you access to a private Discord server where you can chat to me on a daily basis about your hobby needs, then there will be links to that below as well. Once again, thank you Station Forge for sponsoring today's video. I'll see you in the next one.